Okay, well, hello everybody. And today we're looking at this worldview of New Age, or we could say Hinduism. And we want to, or as David Noble calls it, New Age, Cosmic Humanism. And let me just recommend again this book, David Noble's wonderful book on Understanding the Times by Summit Ministries. And this probably is the best book for explaining all the various worldviews and how they impact areas like politics, economics, law, 10 areas of life. So if you want to know what's going on in the world, you don't need to read the newspaper sometimes, you better not, but you better think on the bigger picture of what the newspapers are saying and whether it's actually true. So let's start this. We're going to be looking at this worldview and how it appears. Okay, I'm just going to review for the sake of anybody who might want to watch one tape real quickly, remind ourselves, what is a worldview? A worldview is a set of ideas, assumptions, or beliefs about life, the universe, and all there is. We need to realize it's a belief system. It is a lens through which we view the world. All of us have colored glasses. Islamic colored glasses view things from an Islamic point of view. Hindu glasses reveal things through a Hindu point of view. It is, in a sense, a theory of reality. You might think that reality is very obvious, but even today, with the postmodernists who want to say that we all create our own reality, we need to look at these theories of reality and what they're telling us, not only about truth, not only about origins, but about who we are and what our purpose is. Major worldviews, of course, we know there are three categories. Atheism is a category, theism, and pantheism. So we have looked at three atheistic varieties of your common atheism. And when we say there are these varieties, David Noble wrote the book saying there were three secular worldviews, these three, because they had writings, books, and authors who had presented authoritative ideas in all 10 areas of a worldview. So he said, if there was a collection of writings and authoritative ideas and authors who wrote in 10 distinct areas, then he would say that's a comprehensive worldview. In the case of Marxism, of course, there are lots of Marxists writing about economics, law, history. There are lots of postmodernists writing about ethics and truth and philosophy. There are lots of secular humanists making laws in our governments about abortion, about vaccinations and anything else. Okay, so we also have two theistic worldviews. We've looked at Islam. Islam has a god called Allah. Christianity has a god called Yahweh. There's a big difference. The difference is just as great as between the god Dagon and the god of Christianity, or Caesar in Christianity. Islam proclaims itself as the final revelation of their God, superseding all of Christianity and Judaism, and claims that Muhammad is the greatest prophet of all time, and that we've worshiped Jesus in error and futility because he's just a prophet. Islam has a political goal to subjugate the world. So does Marxism. And both of those came from angelic visits, supposedly. Marx heard from angels. Muhammad said he heard from an angel. And they got revelations, wrote them down in their books, the Communist Manifesto and the Quran. And these two worldviews have caused unbelievable slaughter and death on planet Earth since their launching. So the last one we're looking at here is cosmic humanism today. Hinduism and Buddhism. Buddhism is a daughter of Hinduism. They both have similar ideas of the universe being one essence, and various ideas on how to become one with the universe. So there is technically no God in these. Buddha never said he was God. he was trying to find a way to God. And we're going to see that all New Agers believe that they are divine and that they are increasing their God consciousness. So these worldviews predominate the world. There are 57 Islamic majority countries. Christianity has shaped the Western world, which leads the world in technological, military, freedoms, rights, democracies, compared to any other worldview here. So what they say is we can see by reality that worldviews are outworked in structures of society. So we can look at the fruit of these ideas. Ideas have consequences, and bad ideas have bad consequences. All right, again, we mentioned the three categories: theism, God made all; atheism, there's no God at all; and pantheism, which we're looking at today, God is all. So those three, there are no other categories really that you can say about reality. Either God made it, there is no God, or everything's God. The test of a worldview, if we're going to test it or evaluate, well, what's the truth? We must create a test for each of these worldviews. I'm just going to move this screen here. The real answer to life must address and answer the following four basic questions. Where did the universe come from? Who am I? And what is knowledge, and how do I know something? What is the origin and nature of morality and values? And what is life's purpose or destiny? So these are the inescapable questions that every human faces alive in the history of the planet. Like it or not, you are going to answer those questions, whether you want to or not, because you're going to die. And so your life will be examined on the basis of what you did. So who are you? Why are you here? Where are we going? Where do we come from? These are important questions to ask people when you're doing your evangelism. You don't have to give them a Bible verse. You just say, where did the universe come from? See where the answer, see what answer they give you. It'll reveal their worldview. I'll show that Christianity fits the facts of reality better than any other theory or philosophy. Christianity raises and answers the basic questions in a way that can be lived. This is crucial. So there are reasons why Christianity is the truth. It fits the facts. It raises the questions: who's man? What's morality? Where did the universe come from? Where are we going? In a way that can be lived. Love your neighbor, be patient, kind, seek to bless others. I mean, there's a livable formula, ethical framework in Christianity. Others don't have that necessarily. Can't live Hinduism. Okay, so the 10 questions that worldviews, again, this is review for those who might just watch this one. A worldview, I'm going to move this again, and must answer the questions. Theology, is there a God? What's God like? What's real? What can we know? What is the foundation for morals? What is the origin of life? How should society be structured? What is human nature? What is the best form of government? What is the basis for law? What produces a sound economy? Or what is the purpose of an economy? And how should we interpret human events? What's going on? Why are things happening? What's the meaning of it? So basically a worldview, a comprehensive worldview, has answers to those questions. And those 6 worldviews do answer those questions with their comprehensive writings. So we're going to look at cosmic humanism today. Just a few little points as we start off, a few quotes and things. Unlike other religious traditions, Hinduism does not originate in a single founder, a single book, or a single point in time. It contains many different beliefs, philosophies, and viewpoints, not always consistent with each other. This is out of just, again, you can go to Google, you can study, you can look up various statements. So that's quite an interesting one. There is no single founder or point in time or authoritative books, and has inconsistent viewpoints. So it's already appearing to be relativistic. I want to go through this chart before we get into many more points because it kind of lays the foundation. This is out of David Noble's book, and it gives us a broad view. So again, comparing to Christianity, in the 10 areas of a worldview, the theology of Hinduism is pantheism. Everything is God. So you'll have to wrap your head around that. But even Oprah Winfrey said that. So a lot of Westerners are in this idea that we are divine. We have a divine spark and we're all just energy. So you've got to realize that's different than Christianity. So there is no God in Hinduism. So just remember this, there's no creator. But in biblical Christianity, there is. In philosophy, the area of what's true, what's real, the Bible endorses the view that there's a natural world, but there's a supernatural world, non-physical, spiritual, that we are not just a physical body, we are a spirit being. God is not physical, although he came down in the form of flesh in Jesus Christ. In cosmic humanism, non-naturalism is to say that they don't believe that matter is just matter. Everything is spiritual, including matter. So it's not a philosophy of naturalism, which says this is matter. They believe everything, including matter itself, it has a spiritual nature. You're going to see where this works out when they talk about Mother Earth and the Gaia goddess, and the fact that, you know, we're related to the whales, and the trees have a spirit, all that sort of stuff. Ethics. Christianity has moral absolutes. In cosmic humanism, they're committed to relativism. There are those who state that, you know, we are in charge of our own moral values to climb up to higher consciousness. They have a system of karma where the universe pays you back if you've been naughty, and you'll be sent back in some other form to suffer on planet Earth. I'll give a story later on about that. So they believe that Earth is a prison. You've been sent here by your bad karma. If you're here talking to me today, you're a bad person in your last life. I'm a bad person. We're stuck here in prison, and we should learn our lesson that we were bad in our last life. So if we do good now, we might come back as a king or a millionaire, or if you're really, really good, you won't come back at all. You've learned your lesson. You've got higher consciousness, and now you're in a greater stage of godness, godlikeness. In biology, we believe in creation. They believe in cosmic evolution. They have no explanation for the origin of matter and energy. The universe always was, but that runs against science, which shows that the universe had a beginning. So the Hindus are living in a contradiction already, because real science, and include the Bible, says the universe began. And that can be measured by background radiation and the principles of the second law of thermodynamics and the loss of energy in the universe. But Hindus believe that everything's evolving cosmically, that we're heading towards a higher stage of Godhead. Of course, everything's God, so everything's heading upwards. Everything is heading upwards into some higher state of consciousness. It's hard to follow, but that's the problem with some worldviews. In their area of psychology, Christians believe that we have a body, but we are also non-physical being. We have emotions, we have a mind, we have a will, which we might say is our soul, and we are essentially a spirit being with a soul. So we are dualistic in the sense that we have two parts, physical, non-physical, although we are fallen. Cosmic humanist doesn't accept such a view. We are all spirit beings and heading towards a higher consciousness, which we'll talk about. In sociology, the question of what is society and what is the family, the Christian believes in a traditional home, it's parents, man marries a woman, a church, and the state with a role to punish and protect. There certainly is a non-traditional family, church, and state ideas in the cosmic humanist worldview, which we shall see. In the area of law, Christian believes in biblical law. We're commanded to do certain things, and those should be reflected in our constitution. So the Western nations have, in many ways, built biblical laws into the foundations of their constitution. The Australian Constitution, I've been there in Canberra where Greg is, and you can go there and read. It starts with the premise that we are under God. So does the Canadian Constitution, certainly the US Constitution, and many Western ones start with the idea that our countries are built upon biblical foundations. We also believe in natural laws. There are physics laws, chemistry laws, laws of gravity. So we believe that there are natural law, which are for the benefit of our being. We have to drink water, you have to eat food, you have to sleep, you have to exercise. You know, there are principles which govern the physical world, but there are also principles that govern the moral world. So the Christian believes in following all those laws. Physical laws are built for our protection and enjoyment of earth, and the spiritual laws or biblical laws are there to protect us morally and ensure that we live within God's design. However, cosmic humanist believes in self-law. That we will see they don't appreciate external courts and governments imposing laws upon them, because they believe all humans will guide themselves in their evolutionary climb toward self-consciousness, godhood. We are directing our own evolution. We are all in the giant washing machine of karma, working ourselves back up the ladder to a higher and higher stage of consciousness and godhood. So they do not appreciate and so much following somebody else's external laws, which do not give them the freedom to pursue their own self-consciousness and their godhood. In the area of politics, Christian believes in justice. The government should punish the wicked. We believe in freedom. The individual is free. He's not controlled by the government. And the government must maintain order. The individual must maintain order. So those are the primary foundations of the political realms in the West. There is justice. That's why people are fleeing here from Islamic countries. They're looking for justice. They want to get away from Islamic states. They want freedom. Or there's such chaos in these African countries ruled by dictators that people want order. And the Chinese student that came to Australia and talked to me many years ago, he said, how did you get this order? How come everything's so orderly here? And I said, that's because we have a government that's limited. And the order comes from this nation following the principles of God. So the cosmic humanist believes in self-government, and we're going to see they do endorse a new world order. And so we're going to see some of these little themes coming out even today in our civilization here in the West that we're in, as we take a look at some of the terminology. We can see, as we did last week, we took a look at, a few weeks ago, we looked at Marxism. We can see a cultural Marxism operating here with some of the Black Lives Matter movements, some of the cancel culture movements, political correctness. We can also see the New World Order thinking coming in. And so we need to be aware that, there are various ideas from various worldviews are impacting cultures all the time. And you need to be aware of what they are and where the tree that produces that fruit. In economics, Christian believes in the stewardship of property. We may own property, or else you wouldn't be able to steal. So the state should not own everything, like the Communist Party of old taught. The cosmic humanist, however, has a little bit of a different approach, wants more freedom to produce according to his own enlightened mindset. Because again, We are all, in his view, evolving ourselves. So we should work as unto ourselves. We should take charge over our work so that we can ensure that the way we're doing things is according to the purpose of our inner sense of importance, our inner sense of where we're at. And you can see some of this really emerging in our economic ideas today, where people.
I can't get it. I've lost my sound. I can't get sound out of anything. I keep rebooting it, and I can't get it.
I'm just going to put this on pause for a second. Okay, we've just resumed again. So economics is this idea for the cosmic humanists that we need to be in charge of our own life in its entirety to direct ourselves towards universal enlightenment. And there is an idea in there that's, got some truth to it, that you should find a job that you can love. But sometimes you have to love the job that you find. If you can't get exactly what you want, you still need to pay the bills. But anyway, we'll look at that. That's not such a difficult area. And the last one is history. The Christian, of course, believes that we're in between the fall and the judgment and the wrapping up of history. We believe the resurrection was a pivotal point in history to break the power of sin over us, to give us the capacity to be free from sin, and to look forward to the culmination of history in the second coming of Jesus Christ, that this world will end and there will be a new heavens and a new earth. So, but the cosmic humanist, as we note, believes in directed evolution being a spiritual evolution. Since everything is spiritual, including matter, that everything is bringing us towards a one world consciousness. Okay, so that's kind of background. Let's jump into some of the details. But first, I like this quote by C.S. Lewis, who says, one of the things that distinguishes man from the other animals is that he wants to know things. He wants to find out what reality is like, simply for the sake of knowing. Christianity claims to give an account of facts, to tell you what the real universe is like. So that is important, because that is what I said earlier. Christianity is a theory of reality that fits the facts. I like this statement that contradicts cosmic humanism in its entirety. All things were made by him, and without him was not anything made that was made. That completely undermines, challenges, and destroys both atheism and pantheism. Because if he's the author of everything that was made, then there's no such thing as a big bang that went off by itself or even started. And there's no such thing as Hinduism, which claims the universe is eternal. So right away, Christianity separates other worldviews by the content and statements in the Bible. I need to bring this point up again because I see that evolutionary thinking has permeated all worldviews except Christianity. I am going to say there is nowhere in Christianity, in the Bible, that evolution is taught, that Jesus referred to it, that humans mentioned it as God's mechanism for bringing all the variety of plants and animals and fish and birds to life. Nowhere. In fact, Jesus said, God made them male and female from the beginning of creation, which means there was no evolution, because evolution says we all started with a single cell. So there wouldn't have been any males and female cells. In fact, it's a contradiction to have males and females at all, because why would females and males evolve separately, distinct? And anyway, the evolution is scientifically absurd. And I do not embrace theistic evolution or any form of evolution being brought into the Bible. God made the world in 6 days. The days refer to days of the week, because in Exodus, he sent Moses down with the tablet, and it said on that I am the Lord who made the world and all that's in it in 6 days. And on the 7th day, we rest, and our week on the earth is devised as referring to God's 6 days of creation, and he rested on the 7th. So I do not see any scientific or theological reason to bring evolution into the Bible, but it is in all these other worldviews. So let's have a look at it. In Marxism, they believe in socio-political evolution, that human history will arrive at a purely communistic, classless society. And that is because matter itself, matter, is moving evolutionarily. And so this is contrary completely to the cosmic humanist, who believes that matter is spiritual. The secular humanist believes in a biological evolution, that, humans are the highest form of evolution. We came from the monkeys, and the monkeys came from somewhere else. I can't remember all the links. Everything would have started off in a bang. So it's an unbelievable statement of faith, not science, to say that plants and animals and fish and everything all began in that one big explosion in their genetic makeup, or that these genetic codes evolved from a plant to an animal. I mean, it's just not scientific, but it's taught in every school and university in the West. Cosmic humanism believes in a spiritual evolution, that we ourselves direct and develop our God consciousness, leading to a new age. Maybe this is some of what we hear now being called the big reset. Our governments are talking about the world reset. You just got to be careful. I'm listening now. What on earth are they going to say that is, and how's that going to work? Because I think you're going to see some powerful ideas coming here, and we might see some new age ones pop up in this as people, prioritize the environment over humans. Because after all, the whales are as valuable as us to some of these worldview thinkers. Postmodernism, history has no meaning or purpose, but they believe in a punctuated evolution. Somehow that evolution went forward in jumps, in big bursts at different times. Although they don't like the grand theories of anything except their own grand theory. And Islam believes in a theological evolution. They believe that Allah, their God, spoke down through the ages to Abraham, Moses, David, Jesus, and Muhammad. And of course, Muhammad was the final, last prophet, the highest, the greatest. Everybody else was wrong, got it all wrong, but he got it all right. So Islam is the perfect civilization on earth today. Islam can create the most beautiful place there is. Well, show me where that is. Show me which country out of 57 Muslim majority countries has Islam produced a civilization greater than any in the West. It hasn't. But anyway, they believe that they're the top of the theological evolutionary pile. They believe in the Islamization of humanity, and they are the source of much of the terrorism, the jihad. And so are the Marxists, who've led nothing but wars and revolutions and invasions since the launch of the Bolshevik Revolution in 1917 by Lenin. So we've got some nasty ideas on planet Earth. These ideas work their way into government policies, into laws, into morality, into science classes, into everything. The way you run your city and your navy and your economic policy and your foreign affairs policy, everything's affected by the ideas that you are taught or you learn, and they all come out of a worldview, one or the other. So these worldviews here all borrow evolutionary thinking, and you notice Christianity's not there. So as people try to bring evolution to the Bible and stick it in between, the first day and the second day, it wasn't a day, it was trillions of years, and the universe, and God could have done it that way. I said, yeah, he could have, but he didn't. He told you how he did it. He didn't use evolution. You know how God created the universe? He spoke, and the Lord spoke, and it was, and he spoke, and it was. So this is as miraculous as you're ever going to get. God doesn't need billions of years of death, pain, disease, and suffering of an evolutionary process to bring something about. He can do it instantly, instantaneously, like all the healings in the Bible. They were instantaneous. They didn't require hospital visits for 6 months while the guy's eye got better. It was instantly the blind man saw. So God, who can do that, can create a universe instantly. I just wonder why it took him so long. Why he wanted to do it in 6 days, not 6 seconds. But anyway, that's his choice. So again, just another point. Christianity explains the origin of matter, energy, life, and the orderliness of the universe. Others don't. And I put it in there because Hinduism cannot explain the origin of matter, energy, or life. In Christianity, truth is knowable and objective based on the nature of God. In atheism, postmodernism, and Hinduism, truth is subjective. As we learned, the cosmic humanist believes that there are many sources of beliefs and ideas in Hinduism, and some of them contradict each other. So truth, therefore, is not objective. And here's a quote on Hinduism. Truth has many facets. The supreme can be worshipped in any form. The distinguishing feature of Hinduism is pluralism combined with freedom of choice. Well, there you go. Christianity provides an objective basis for morality. Atheism and pantheism, or Hinduism, have no fixed basis for morality, because if we're all the author of our own spiritual destiny and evolution, what's right and wrong? Who determines what's right and wrong? There's no objective basis. If there's no God in Hinduism, who created morality or the definitions of right and wrong? So atheism and pantheism, or Hinduism or New Age, they start with this premise, since there's, we can use this premise on their arguments. Since there's no God, there are no absolutes. Since there is no absolutes, everything's relative. And that's their argument. There's no God, so there's no absolutes. So we can do what we want. But according to this statement here, without God, nothing in life can have meaning, because there would be no standards by which we could discern the difference between good and evil, truth and error, justice and injustice, and right from wrong. So relativism cannot help you define good and evil, truth and error, justice and injustice, right and wrong, without a reference point. Christianity explains the centrality of love in the universe, and God is a God of love. No other worldview has a God of love or cannot ever explain love. And this is true of Hinduism. There's no God, so what is love? Christianity explains the nature of man, the non-physical mind, will, heart, and sin that confirms our lived experience, while atheism, pantheism, and Islam are contradictory. They don't explain our own nature of how we got in this situation, who we are, and what we are. In fact, pantheism says this, if the world is a part of God, then the supreme being would not be in control of a part of itself. Or I should say, this is an apologetic statement against pantheism. So if the world is a part of God, then this so-called supreme being would not be in control of a part of itself. A part of itself would be extremely imperfect and evil. This is especially true of human beings. So parts of the supreme being would be imperfect and unenlightened. So you see, in other words, if everything is God, including evil and pain, then this supreme being, whatever it is also part of it is evil, because there's evil on earth and things are broken, especially us, and we're supposed to be divine. So we're part of the divine. So in other words, the divine has evil in it. But in Christianity, God reveals himself to man in Christ and does something for man he can't do for himself. In all other religious worldviews, man attempts to find God, as in Buddhism or Hinduism, and must fulfill some external conditions in order to please their deity. So in Islam, Muslims must obey the 5 pillars of Islam. How do you redeem yourself in Hinduism? How can you find God in Hinduism if there is no God? You're God. So how do you this whole thing becomes quite confusing. If you're God, why do you need to find yourself? But let's look further at this. Christianity is also a religion of the heart. All others are human creations that focus on the mind or on some special clothing or on going to some holy site in order to take away sin. So, for example, in Hinduism, Hindus go to the Ganges River in a pilgrimage. I think it's every year, to try and wash away their sins. So here's a picture of millions of Hindus. I'm sorry it's blurry. I got it off the internet, but it's a picture of millions of Hindus making their pilgrimage to the Ganges River, which is a pretty filthy river, I understand it, not very clean, flowing through a major city. And they go into this water to wash away their sins. Well, I want to ask you, can this water wash away your sin if sin is in your heart? So this hope Hindus have of climbing their spiritual ladder is based on an external ritual of washing in a dirty river to take away your sins. I like what Francis Schaeffer said: Christianity is not a series of truths in the plural, but rather truth spelled with a capital T, truth about total reality, not just about religious things. So we're going to look a little bit closer now at some of the ideas that I highlighted in that chart. We are God. In Hinduism, Jesus is looked on as one of a select company, having achieved Christ consciousness. Every person is encouraged to acquire this same level of consciousness. How can anyone hope to achieve such a divine consciousness? Because everyone is a part of God. Cosmic humanists believe that we and God are ontologically one, in other words, one being. And a cosmic humanist, John White, states, the Son of God is not Jesus, but our combined Christ consciousness. So figure that out. And going back to the third one, each of us has access to a supraconscious, creative, integrative, self-organizing, intuitive mind whose capabilities are apparently unlimited, says John Bradshaw. This is the part of our consciousness that constitutes our God-likeness. So we all have access to the one mind because we are part of it. And Jesus was just a super duper part of it. Meher Baba declares, there's only one question. And once you know the answer to that question, there's no more to ask. Who am I? And to that question, there's only one answer. I am God. Well, that's not what Jesus thinks. Islam would contradict that. Atheists would contradict that. But hey, we have, I don't know what the number could be, close to 1 billion Hindus on earth who believe that. Shirley MacLaine, a Western convert to Hinduism, recommends that every person should begin each day by affirming his or her own godhood. You can use I am God or I am that I am, as Christ often did, or you can extend the affirmation to fit your own needs. So imagine this, Shirley MacLaine using part of a biblical claim where Christ affirmed that before Abraham was born, I am, and that I am is a creator. She's saying that you can use that for yourself. We are as much God as God is part of us. Each of us is God. Together, we are God. This all for one and one for all makes us the whole of God. White states that sooner or later, every human being will feel a call from the cosmos to ascend to godhood. This is really popular in Hollywood. In the 1977 Star Wars movie, Obi-Wan Kenobi explains the nature of the God Force as he tells Luke Skywalker, the Force is what gives the Jedi his power. It's an energy field created by all living things. It surrounds us and penetrates us and binds the galaxy together. So Star Wars is really selling cosmic humanism. In The Empire Strikes Back in 1980, Yoda, the Jedi Master, takes Luke as an apprentice and instructs him more fully in the ways of the Force. Yoda tells Luke, "For my ally is the Force, and a powerful ally it is. Life breeds it, makes it grow. Its energy surrounds us and binds us. Luminous beings are we, not this crude matter. You must feel the Force around you, here between you, me, the tree, the rock, everywhere. Yes, even between land and ship." So in other words, everything is God. Everything is energy. That's exactly what Oprah Winfrey said a number of years ago when she finished her TV program. In fact, she used the same one. The dog, the tree, and me, we're all energy. What is truth? Every person in all reality is God, and therefore any truth that our inner self discovers is God's truth. This is important when you think of people today saying, they feel this is right. People are using the feelings as a source of truth. It's almost going back to this cosmic humanist view that truth comes out of what you feel, and you have your truth, and all cultures have their truth. So postmodernism, in a sense, is also making use of some of this, cosmic humanist foundation. Truth, or what we can know, is a feeling or an experience. Just think of that. Knowledge does not contain the meaning of life. Each of us creates our own truth according to the principle. If it feels like truth to you, it is. Each of us may experience different truths because truth resides in the individual and manifests itself in our godhood. Joseph Campbell says, "What's the meaning of the universe? What's the meaning of a flea? It's just there. That's it. And your own meaning is that you're there." We're so engaged in doing things to achieve purposes of outer value that we forget that the inner value, the rapture that is associated with being alive, that's what it's all about. So that's really a statement about just, we are in that process of being God. So don't think about what a flea is or what the meaning is. You're here. You're in it. In The Matrix, a boy explains to Neo, who watches a monk attempting to bend a spoon. He says, "Don't try to bend the spoon. That's impossible. Only understand the truth. There is no spoon." This statement reflects the classic Hindu Buddhist conception of reality, that what we see is an illusionary world. There's no objective world, only the reality of your mental state. Just think about that for a minute. No objective reality, only what you in your mental state perceive. This idea of non-naturalism, as I mentioned earlier, the belief that everything is a part of God and in its essence is spiritual. That's everything. The things that we can see and feel are only a manifestation of spirit, and all matter will melt away when universal consciousness is achieved. So the denial of the body, the denial of the physical, the spiritualizing of everything is their philosophy of non-naturalism. Cosmic humanists believe that all reality is God, from the grain of sand to the Milky Way. The Gaia hypothesis, which is popular in the university campuses, views planet Earth and the whole universe as a living organism. Just imagine this. They've been talking about the trees and the oceans and all. I remember when I was at university, they're talking about, they thought that tomatoes could feel and could think, were conscious. And I thought, well, that's pure Hinduism right there, pure Hinduism. So any movement that wants to protect the environment, and it's big in the environment, okay, huge in the environment. We've got to protect all these things because we are part of them, they are part of us, we are one. And this is a cosmic humanist view. For me, I'll eat the cow because it's a T-bone steak, whereas a Hindu will pray to the cow because he believes it's a reincarnated mother. According to Fritjof Capra, the universe is no longer seen as a machine made up of a multitude of objects, but has to be pictured as one indivisible dynamic whole whose parts are essentially interrelated and can be understood only as patterns of a cosmic process. Mere psychology, cosmic humanist psychology, is closely tied to the belief that we can hasten the progress of evolution by achieving our own higher consciousness, which is the central goal of the New Age movement. Psychology provides the means to achieve this progress. In other words, we are in charge of our own development of higher consciousness, our own godhood. Higher consciousness is the ever-increasing awareness of one's spiritual essence and the underlying spiritual nature of all things. Higher consciousness is one of the blessings derived from meditation, as is the ability to, here we go, channel spirits. This is going to give you some idea of where this is coming from. Kathleen Van Keef says, almost without exception, those who channel effectively meditate regularly. The process of channeling itself is an extension of the state of meditation. The best way to prepare then for channeling is by meditation. Channeling refers to the cosmic humanist belief that spirits will sometimes speak to and through a gifted person who is engaged in meditation. Well, right away, the Christian has to say, aha, I see the problem here. Channeling spirits was done by various people claiming that they were talking to some ancient pharaoh from thousands of years ago when they went into a trance and had a deep voice, and he was telling them, you know, how he used to live. And of course, since he's still alive, since everybody's been reincarnated in some other form, supposedly everybody's out there can be channeled and talked to because they're in some other spiritual form going around and around and around on planet Earth again and again and again. So this is a demonic doorway if ever there was one. In psychology, in order to understand oneself and how in your path to godhood, a person must be cognizant of at least some of his or her past lives. I mean, after all, how are you going to live today on Earth since we're here? How do I know what's good to do since I'm being punished by being here? What did I do wrong last time? I've got to know where I went wrong so I can correct today on Earth as I'm here. But here we see this statement: if your soul was a Roman centurion, an Indian beggar, a Mexican mother, a nomad boy, and a medieval nun, among other incarnations in the past, for example, you will not be able to understand your proclivities or interests or ways of responding to different situations without an awareness of the experiences of those lifetimes. So here we got his statement that you might have lived in all those generations in different bodies. You were a Roman, an Indian, a Mexican, a nomad, a nun, and you won't be able to live today unless you know what you were supposed to learn from all those other things. So I mean, this thing is just so riddled with subjectivity and a doorway to the demonic. It's not fun. And ultimately, reincarnation can serve little purpose for any of these cosmic humanists unless they know about and can learn from their past lives. But what happens if you're a dog in your last life? Well, what if you're a tree? Well, what if you're a mosquito? Were you aware that you were a mosquito and that before you were a mosquito, you were a king who used to rule Persia, and suddenly now you're a mosquito buzzing around? I mean, it's insane because this assumes that the self, the person who's being reborn over and over and over, is the same entity in an ant that then becomes a dog, that then becomes a person, that then becomes a whale, becomes a Roman centurion. You know, you'd have to have a self that existed through life and deaths over and over and over. And that would simply not be possible to learn anything if you were a virus or you were a tick in the forest. So it's not a coherent worldview. And reincarnation makes absolutely no sense. It has no scientific basis whatsoever. Nobody's ever come back except Jesus Christ. Because when he left, he was God. When he came back, he was God. So he's the only one who can transcend the barrier of life and death. Okay, what about sociology? I'm going to keep going for a while, and hopefully we can almost cover most of this. All social institutions should encourage us to seek inner truth from our perfectible human nature. Remember, you can perfect yourself. There's no accountability except to the laws of karma, and you're in charge of your own godhood direction. Society, therefore, must adopt a pantheistic perspective in their view. David Spangler explains, you are sacred. In you and with you, I can find the sacramental passages that reconnect me to the wholeness of creation. So again, they're always talking about, this spiritual process of engaging with all living things because we are all divine. So we all move together towards this consciousness. We therefore need to ask ourselves, what kind of culture, what kind of institutions, be they political, economic, artistic, educational, or scientific, we need that can honor that universal sacredness. So that's a tough question for them to answer. But you might think of some of the environmental push to be part of the answer towards this, to protect the environment, because everything is sacred. And part of the native peoples in Canada, the First Nations, part of the Aboriginal peoples in Australia, the peoples in Bali, treating nature as sacred, whether it's whales or mountains or trees or fish or wolves or snow or whatever. That, animism borrows heavily from a Hindu view that everything is a spiritual essence. So there are these sacred sites, that mountain, that river, that hill, those trees, that forest are sacred places that are part of this cosmic humanist view. In law, they believe in self-law because everything's self-guided. The legal perspective that actions are lawful if they come from the God within, and unlawful if imposed by an outside authority. External laws and authority are counter-evolutionary, preventing us from achieving godhood. Mark Satin says, getting in touch with ourselves would appear to be not self-indulgence at all, but an imperative for survival that's built right into the structure of the universe. So I find it difficult to think how this would work out in society if everybody was guided by self-law. Would there be any jails? It's not a way that can be lived, and that's the problem. Is Christianity is livable. This worldview cannot be lived. If everybody ran their own definitions of right and wrong and had self-law, where would we end up with criminals and evil on earth? In politics, we're moving towards a one world government, interestingly enough. Cosmic humanists believe that humanity is evolving toward a collective consciousness that will transcend all material and individual boundaries, including national and political boundaries. World government is a natural evolutionary step in this dissolution of boundaries. According to Donald Keyes, humanity is on the verge of something entirely new, a further evolutionary step unlike any other, the emergence of the first global civilization. And this raised my interest when I heard this, because I think, oh my goodness, is this what we're hearing in the West about the giant reset? Is the West so sick of materialism that they're willing to jump into the insanity of spiritualizing the universe and moving towards a one world government to protect the environment, to make the environment priority number one? It's hard to fathom, but I do believe some of this cosmic humanist thinking, particularly about the environment, self-law, and fulfilling your own spiritual journey is coming out more and more in the media and in Western thinking. And the fact that feelings trump facts, that people argue, well, I feel this. They don't say, I think this anymore, or I believe it. They say, I feel this. And that is certainly a basis for arguing that what you feel is morally right, because we all have our own moral code. As we read earlier, feelings and what you believe internally as that moral guidance is true for you, and it should therefore be true for everyone. It's a mess of a worldview, but you can see snippets of it being applied here and there. In economics, this idea of universal enlightened production, the belief that positive thought creates wealth. Shakti Gawain says, we make a contribution to the world just by being ourselves in every moment. There are no more rigid categories in our lives. This is work, this is play. It all blends into the flow of following the universe, and then money flows in as a result of the open channel that's created. Gawain also says, the more you're willing to trust yourself and take the risk to follow your inner guidance, the more money you will have. The universe will pay you to be yourself and do what you really love. And I thought, wow, wouldn't that be ideal? But I don't know if I'm following the universe. I don't know if the universe is going anywhere. The universe is not alive. I'm the universe. I'm God. So what am I following? This consciousness, the force. I suppose I'm following the force. So it's unlivable, but there's some dangerous ideas in here that just by existing, you're making a contribution to the world. You can thank God for your existence. And this idea that money will flow into you once you just align yourself with the universe. I encountered some people in my journey as a Christian who were Christians who had some of these types of ideas that they believed were biblically correct. That we could, this one person said to me, God wants us all to be super wealthy. Like, you can have whatever you ask for, this name it and claim it theology. And he actually said money is flowing in the sky. Money is flowing in the invisible realm like a river. And all you have to do is reach up and grab it and pull down as much as you believe you can have. And I thought, what? So there's some danger in here. And there's been a lot of false prophets out there proclaiming that you'll never get sick again if you had faith. You'll never have a toothache if you have faith. You'll never be poor. You can be a millionaire. I heard one preacher say that you shouldn't be driving a Volkswagen. You should all be driving Mercedes Benzes. And I thought, why just a Mercedes Benz? Why not a Maserati? I mean, this type of theology smacks a little bit about this, that the universe is going to pay you to do whatever you like. And we've brought that into Christianity and said, well, God's going to give you whatever you like, because after all, he wants to bless you, right? Well, it doesn't say that in the Bible. You're going to go through suffering and torment, and the disciples all died horrible deaths. They weren't multimillionaires. There are multimillionaire Muslims, communists, atheists, Hindus, whatever. Money is not a sign of God's blessing. You can make money even if you're an atheist, but we have to be careful to think that somehow we can tap into unlimited riches. If you look at the world and the suffering of Christians worldwide, Christianity is the most persecuted religion in the world, and the most persecuting worldviews are Marxism and Islam. So there are a lot of very poor and suffering Christians around the world, in Africa and South America. And this type of theology that you can have all the money you want just by pulling it down from the heavens is theologically, in my view, theologically wrong. So history, where does it end up with the cosmic humanist worldview? The belief that the divine is the source of evolutionary force and that we are growing toward godhood. Evolution guarantees that everyone will eventually embrace cosmic humanism and usher in the new age. Scott Peck says, God wants us to become himself. Now get this one straight here. This is a quote from a cosmic humanist. God wants us to become himself or herself or itself. We are growing toward godhood. God is the goal of evolution. It is God who is the source of the evolutionary force, and God who is the destination. This is what we mean when we say that he is the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end. So, whoa, there is a stealing from Christianity, if there ever was one. So, God wants us to become himself, or God. So, it is perplexing and mind-blowing, and little wonder that people are over in India praying to cows, meditating and washing themselves in the Ganges River to try and climb up their spiritual ladder. It's terrible if you think that a cow is a higher incarnation than you as a human being. So Hinduism cannot produce anything close to what the Judeo-Christian West has produced in civilization. It's not livable in many ways. Self-law, thinking of yourself as energy, denying external government a role, self-government. I mean, there's so many aspects that are contradictory. But then again, as we read in the beginning, Hinduism embraces contradiction. Many beliefs from many places, you can't pin it down. But essentially, the idea the universe always was contradicts science. The idea that I am God in any way, shape, or form, and I'm equal to the tree, appears to me to be a difficult one scientifically. That I'm equal to a rock. The rock is equal to a fish. Everything is spiritual. It's all energy. And the biggest problem, of course, is where did it all come from? And I want to let's see. It's 4:10. I want to state that I did talk to some Hindus in Bali one time. I think I gave this story, but it's worth ending with it. Let me just see if I have. No, that is the last one. I talked to these young boys who were Hindus on the beach in Bali one time, and I was looking at a beautiful sunset, and I said, "Isn't that a beautiful sunset?" And just to get the conversation going. And these were Balinese, boys, Indonesians. And this one boy turned to me very seriously, and he said, "That's not beautiful." And I turned to him and said, "Wow, well, it's beautiful to me, all those orange and red colors of the sunset." He said, he said to me, "You don't think a prison's beautiful, do you?" And I go, "Well, you're absolutely right. Prison is not beautiful, but that's not a prison." He goes, "Yes, it is. I'm a Hindu." So I right away don't say to people that I know what a Hindu is, because I want them to tell me so I can engage them and I can dissect their ideas and hopefully lead them to Jesus. So I said, "Well, what's a Hindu?" And he says, "Well, Earth is a prison. I've been sent back here, and you can see I'm poor, so I must have been bad in my last life. And prisons are ugly places, so I don't see this as a beautiful beach. I see it as an ugly prison." And he said, "I can't wait to get out of here. I can't wait to die. And hopefully I'll come back a rich man. If I do good, I'll come back a rich man. If I do real good, I might come back as a king, a very powerful leader. And if I do really, really good this time around, I won't come back at all. I'll just be one with the cosmos." So he gave me a view of Hinduism. So my first question to him was, because I know that there's no creator, I said, "Well, what do you mean by good? What is morality?" And, what is morality? Where does morality come from? And he goes, oh, he was a bit shocked by that question. He said, "Well, do good, be kind to people, help others." And I said, "Well, I thought that karma meant we should not interfere with people's karma, right? If they're a beggar, we should leave them alone so they can suffer. Because if we help a beggar, we're cutting across the law and punishment of karma. So what do you mean help people? Aren't you actually hurting them because they're not learning their lesson as a beggar, right?" And then he was really puzzled. Oh, he started thinking, well, yeah, maybe you're right. And so I said, well, let's think about this. I said, so you said when you die, you're going to go up somewhere and you're going to be judged. Somebody's going to judge you and you're going to be sent back. You might be a rich man. And by the way, notice the two highest values they have. I'm going to come back a rich man. or I'm going to be a king with lots of power. So why is it in Hinduism that money and wealth, money and power are some of the highest desired goals of the universe? Why would the universe want you to be wealthy or powerful? I mean, what kind of a weird universe is this? So anyway, I said, so you're going to go up, you're going to be judged, and you're going to be sent back, and you could be a rich man, or you could be a king. He goes, yeah. So I said, well, tell me this. Who sends you back? Who sends you back? Well, the look on his face was like, whoa, whoa, you know, and he started getting real nervous because you see, in Hinduism, there's no God. So who's going to judge you? Right. So I said, who sends you back? And he goes, oh, you know, he started thinking, and he started to get up, and his friends were like getting nervous, you know, like, hey, let's go, you know, we got to go. And I said, no, hold on. I just got to, let me just think about this. It's important what you said. I said, I'm trying to hold on to him, you know. So I said, you said, that's why I ask people these questions. I get to quote them, right? You said, when you die, you're going to be go up and you're going to be judged. And I said, let's think about that for a second. So when you die and you go up, there's some entity up there who knows who you are, right? Your name is Daryl. I know who you are. They've been watching your entire life, or they have your whole life recorded. And so I said to him, whatever is up there is personal because it knows who you are. It can think because it's going to evaluate you. It has a moral code that's universal for the whole world to judge people. This entity up there has free will because it's going to make a decision, and it has plenty of power to be able to turn you into a rat or a person or a king. And you told me there's no God. So who sends you back? And so I said, you know what? This description here of a being who thinks and who chooses and has a moral code and has plenty of power and is personal sounds like the God of the Bible. So I really threw a tricky monkey wrench into it and said, are you sure you're not a Christian? He goes, oh, no, I'm not a Christian. I said, that sounds like that Christianity stuff. And he goes, Christian? What do you mean Christian? I said, you know, the God of the Bible, he has a moral standard because he is love. He's intelligent, he's personal, he has free will, but he created the universe. That's where it came from. But there's only one issue, I said to this young man. I said, what's that? I said, well, when you go up and you're going to be judged, you won't be coming back. You won't be coming back because you get one shot at life. There's no reincarnation. Well, that pretty much finished the conversation. His young friends were hitting him and saying, we got to get out of here. You know, we got to get out of here. But, you know, that was my experience. One of my experiences of sharing the gospel, or sharing concepts of the gospel with another worldview that happened to be cosmic humanism or Hinduism in Indonesia. So folks, let me just say, we need to engage people with this worldview. You need to ask them when they say God. Don't assume they're talking about the Bible God. Don't assume they're talking, if they're a Muslim and they use the word God, ask them, what's the name of your God? And they say Allah. And you go, well, my God's called Yahweh. The God of the Bible is Yahweh. Can I tell you about Yahweh? You know, we need to introduce people to the God of the Bible, not just the God of the word God. So a Hindu God is himself. An atheist God might be money. An Islamic God is Allah, and a biblical God is Yahweh. So this is part of the nature of the cosmic humanist worldview. It permeates Western civilization. They brought lots of gurus in here during the Beatles era, the Maharishi Mahesh Yogi. There are many ideas floating around of karma. Self-law is huge. Moral relativism, the idea that the natural world, the animals, the plants, and everything is spiritual, and we are on the same level as them, is also cosmic humanist. So we need to reach these people with love, but deliver them out of their deception. We are greater than the animals, according to the Bible. God made us in his image. The cows can be eaten. We need to help people understand that we are not equal to a rock or a tree or a dog. But this is part of the challenge of living on Earth. So that we'll end here, and we'll have some brief questions. Then I'm going to do a second part on a different topic right after this. So